Hey guys, it's Lindsay. I'm going to do a reading for the Divine Masculine, and that has literally nothing to do with gender, as I always say, and everything to do with how you show up in your life, right? Energetically. So if you feel called to this reading, if you feel like you are presenting divine masculine qualities at this time and this rings true for you, then this reading is for you. My tarot readings are all about providing a way to check in with yourself, check in with your own alignment, and to have autonomy over the messages that you are receiving. I always say that tarot is a two-way street. It's not just me reading to you, it is you using the discernment on whether or not a message is for you. And if it's not, please, leave it. And if it is, take what you need. And you'll know, the more you start tuning into your own body, your own inner wisdom, you'll recognize when something is for you and something is not for you. And we have a new deck today, and I'm very excited to use this. Look at that deck. It is the Neon Tarot, and I think it's by, hang on, let me see. It doesn't say who it's by. I will say these cards are AI, and this is the only AI deck I have purchased. I just loved the art so much. But otherwise, I do purchase from actual artists, actual humans, things like that. But this one I was really drawn to. I mean, look at the edges on this, right? So, Divine Masculine. And it's so interesting to me that I'm picking up on reading for the Divine Masculine, because I'm over here with all this kind of pastel, soft, muted, feminine type tones, one could say. But actually, did you know that pink was originally the color for boys? Isn't that funny? So pink, because it is in the palette of reds, and reds were before 1920s often associated with men. Pink was actually used for boys, and only I think after the 1920s into the 1930s did it become associated with girls. So, fun fact. Three of Cups, Divine Masculine. Three of Cups. So you're of three minds at this point. This is pretty interesting. Now this may be a love reading, it may not. I don't know. I'm just kind of sitting with the energy and seeing what shows up here. Hang on, where is he? There he is. For some reason, the Page of Pentacles wanted to come out. This may be, you may have similar features, you may have long hair, you may have a beard. If not, you give off this energy. You see he is seeking the pentacles, he is seeking the money, he is seeking the stability, and he is of three minds of how to get there, right? So I feel like you've come to a point where you are seeking the solution to a problem that maybe you've been looking at for quite a while, and now you're actively picking a path and going with it. And I think for many of you, this is going to have to do with your job, your work, and what type of work you bring into the world. So that can also be a purpose that you feel you have. And so you're making those really hard decisions right now. And we are in August, but I will say that this is a timeless reading. So when this reading finds you, it is most likely for you. But at this point in time, whether it is August or it is somewhere timeless for you in the future, you're at that turning point, you're at that crossroads, and it's almost like you've given yourself an ultimatum, Divine Masculine. Specifically, this is around work. It doesn't seem to be around romance for me, but around your work. You've given yourself an ultimatum where if you don't get this place, if you don't get this promotion, if you don't feel fulfilled by this point, masculine, you're moving on. And you're moving on very quickly. So it's like this ultimatum. And it does feel like that kind of cutting energy, that cutting of ties, cutting of cords. So in the process of making this choice, in some ways, it does have this quality of cutting everything else that goes with the job. So you have made friendships, you have made connections, you have, done certain things. But it's almost like in making this choice to move on from this job that you're cutting all those connections, you're cutting all that learning, you're turning your back on it, because there's almost this sense of not necessarily regret or anger, but like angst is what I'm getting. It didn't turn out the way you had hoped it was going to turn out, and so it's an all or nothing attitude is what I'm getting. And it doesn't necessarily seem to be that is a bad thing for you. It just seems to be that I would caution at burning bridges that you may need in the future, right? So you have the Six of Pentacles, and again, we're talking about work because you're getting so many pentacles, so this is just affirming it. You have the Six of Pentacles, then you have the Four of Pentacles. So it does seem like there is going to be this period after you either leave this job or, you make this decision that you're going to be a little bit strapped, right, for cash. For income, if you do not have something that is already set up for you. So I would also, make sure that you have something that's set up for you, because what it's giving is that energy of, having odd jobs to make up for that job that you no longer have. Now, if that job was, making you sick, stressing you out, of course, like if it was harder on you to keep that job than to take smaller jobs, then of course, use your intuition on what works and how to proceed forward. Just know that there may be a period of, having to pick and choose on what you're spending, and be very careful around that. I also get with this image, Divine Masculine, it's almost like you're seeking answers in the money. So in the way that, like in other areas of life, maybe you haven't been able to get a clear answer. This is the one area that you can find a clear answer and give yourself a clear solution. And so you're proceeding on this path because you can't proceed on other paths. And this would specifically be with romance, right? So if you can't find a solution in one area of your life, finding a solution in another area of your life at least kind of makes you feel good, that you've done something, that you've progressed and moved forward, even if you're not necessarily, moving upward, you're moving forward. Okay, let's see what else is showing up for the Divine Masculine. I do love these cards. They're so beautiful. Okay, so you have Strength and the Moon reversed. The Moon is feminine qualities, it's emotions. So when you have it reversed, it tells me that you are shutting down your emotions in order to proceed into the next phase of your life. And in some ways, you may view this shutting down of your emotions as strength, or you may have been conditioned to view this, you know, shutting down of your emotions as strength. It reminds me of that saying, you know, man up, be a man, right? But I would also take this as an opportunity to view tapping into your emotions and your intuition as the strength, and not go with that kind of patterning of, you know, shutting down your emotions, because your emotions tell you and direct you onto the next stage of your path. And if you're always ignoring them, if you're always shutting them down or opting to do something else instead of listening to your emotions and listening to what's showing up for you, you're not utilizing all the tools at your disposal, right? So you have your tool belt, right? And if you're not using all your tools, you know, kind of what are you doing, right? So you think of someone who is a professional, say you're a foreman, say you're in construction, and if you're missing one tool and you're out in the field and you need that one tool and you can't move on with your project without that one tool, that's exactly like, you know, not being in touch with your emotions. Not expressing your emotions, that doesn't mean expressing them in a way that is harmful to you or other people. It just means, you know, speaking your truth calmly and showing up in that way. You know, power, I think, in a lot of ways has been personal power, especially in speaking to the masculine, has been associated with being very loud, to shouting, to making your presence known. But I think there's something to say of being, you know, quiet but firm. Firm in your boundaries, firm in your direction, and firm in owning your emotions. You can still express your emotions. You don't have to shout them. You also don't have to shut them off. So it's that interesting. It's a learning period for you. You're learning how to do that. You're learning how to find strength in your understanding of yourself through voicing your emotions in a way that is quietly powerful. And I think that's what this stage is about. It's about kind of retraining yourself on everything that you were taught, everything that you've had shown to you by others around you on how to exist in the world as a masculine. And showing up as yourself and, you know, honestly and authentically. Because the more you authentically speak your truth, the more you give opportunity to others to authentically speak their truth, and for others to show up around you. That's the power of the masculine, is to build a divine container, a divine foundation. And a foundation is solid. If the foundation is solid, if it's grounded, if it's clear, and it's cut well, and it's built well, that can hold anything, right? So I think this is in some ways circling back to the question around romance. It's working on that emotional patterning and eventually coming back to the queen. Now, this can be divine feminine, this can be whoever you're interested in as your romantic partner, but this is a person who is fully within their emotions as well. So again, in order to meet this person equally divine masculine, You have to be able to speak to your own truth and your emotions in a way that is stable. Otherwise, this person's not coming to you. They're not going to show up at your door because you're not at the same level, right? And even if they did, you wouldn't be able to hold on to them because you haven't fulfilled your side of the bargain. Now, this is specifically if you are looking for a partnership. So, like as I said, the divine masculine is a container. So if the container you have isn't built well enough, is not structured, if the home you have built is not built solidly, it's not going to hold this. So you have to work on your own home before you even get there. And part of that working on your own home, as we said, is working through into your work, your actual physical work and your emotional work. And that's what's really showing up here for you. And at the bottom of the deck, you have the sun. So that is success. If you do that, you have a chance at success. So that is my reading for you, Divine Masculine. If any of this aligned for you, please like, comment, subscribe, or share. I appreciate it. My name is Lindsey Rose. This is Storyteller Tarot. If you would like your own personal reading, please check out the links in bio. As always, I wish you well.